In the silent, unending darkness of space, where stars whisper secrets older than time, humanity discovered something that would change everything. This is a story of discovery, courage, and the unexpected destiny waiting for one species among thousands. Captain Rebecca Torres stood on the observation deck of the U's Phoenix, her reflection a ghost against the endless black. At 38, her sharp hazel eyes had seen more of the galaxy than most could ever dream of. Her dark hair, pulled back in a practical bun, framed a face etched with the determination of 15 years of service. She hadn't risen through connections or luck, but through sheer will and an unshakable sense of duty to the United Earth Space Command. Beside her floated Krell-Tech, a Zypherian whose body resembled a massive bioluminescent jellyfish. His species communicated through pulses of colored light, which translators rendered into spoken language. After exploring space for 3 centuries, Krell-Tech's wisdom was as vast as his patience was legendary. As the Phoenix's chief science officer, he approached his duties with profound seriousness. At the tactical station sat Lieutenant James Park, a young officer brimming with nervous energy and brilliant tactical instincts. Only 26, he'd already proven himself in 2 border conflicts, his fingers now dancing across holographic controls as he monitored their surroundings. The 4th member of the bridge crew was the Sara, a Quavathi warrior. Her reptilian features and 4 powerful arms made her an intimidating presence. Her people were known throughout the galaxy as fierce protectors and honorable allies. She joined the crew after her homeworld allied with Earth, quickly becoming Rebecca's most trusted security officer. And then there was Vic Soren, the ship's engineer, a floating cluster of metallic spheres humming through the comms. His species, the Archons, were living machines, artificial intelligences that had gained sentience millions of years ago. Vic Soren had chosen to serve on a human vessel purely out of curiosity about the galaxy's newest spacefaring race. They were surveying the Epsilon sector when their sensors picked up the impossible. An energy signature that predated every known civilization, pulsing weakly from a region of space that should have been empty. Rebecca ordered an immediate investigation. Now, 3 days later, they had found the source. The vessel before them was incomprehensible. It stretched across the void like a sleeping titan, its hull darker than space itself. Nearly 70 kilometers long, it dwarfed the Phoenix 100 times over. Its design defied all logic, with sweeping curves and impossible angles that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Captain Torres approached Krell-Tech, who was analyzing the sensor data with intense focus. His body flickered through deep blues and violets, a sign of profound confusion. "Report," Rebecca said, her voice steady. Krell-Tech's lights pulsed rapidly. "Captain, this vessel contradicts everything we understand about ancient technology. According to our dating analysis, this ship is at least 400,000 years old, yet it maintains an active power core. This should be impossible. Every civilization we know of, even the progenitors who built the star gates, left only dead ruins after 10,000 years. James looked up from his station, his face pale. "Captain, I'm detecting no weapons, no shields, nothing that indicates this is a military vessel. But the hull composition is reading as nearly indestructible. Whatever attacked this ship would need firepower beyond anything in the current galaxy." The Sara growled softly, a low sound of unease. "My instincts warn of danger, Captain. The Quavathi have legends of sleeping giants in the dark, ships that wait for the unwary. Perhaps we should maintain our distance." But Rebecca felt something else. A pull, almost magnetic, drawing her toward the ancient vessel. She had learned to trust her instincts, and right now they told her this was not a threat, but an opportunity. An answer to a question she hadn't even known to ask. "Vic Soren, can you interface with their systems?" Rebecca asked over the comm. The Archon spheres rotated thoughtfully. "I have attempted 7,000 different communication protocols. The ship does not respond to any known technology signature." Its systems are completely alien to every database in the galactic network. I cannot even confirm what form their computing systems take. Rebecca made her decision. We're going aboard. James, you have the bridge. Krelchuk, Thesara, Vixorin, you're with me. Standard exploration protocol. In the equipment bay, they suited up. The environment suits were masterpieces of multi-species engineering, customized for each wearer's unique physiology. Rebecca checked her oxygen levels twice, a habit from her early days as a pilot. The familiar routine calmed her nerves. The approach to the alien ship took 2 hours of careful maneuvering. As they drew closer, the true scale of the vessel became even more overwhelming. Its surface was seamless, with no visible construction marks, as if the entire ship had been grown rather than built. They found what might have been a docking port, though it looked nothing like modern designs. As Vixorin attempted to connect, the alien port suddenly activated, flowing like liquid metal to adapt itself perfectly to their shuttle specifications. The change was instantaneous. That was not dormant technology. Kreltak's lights flickered with alarm. The ship responded. It wanted us to dock. They entered through the airlock, their helmet lights cutting through absolute darkness. The corridor beyond was vast, with ceilings that vanished into shadow high above. The walls were smooth and dark, made of a material that seemed to absorb their light rather than reflect it, creating a disorienting, endless void. Desara's tactical scanner beeped softly. Gravity is present. Atmosphere is breathable for humans, though not for the rest of us. Temperature is standard Earth normal. Captain, this makes no sense. Kreltak drifted forward, his bioluminescence casting an eerie glow on the strange surroundings. The ship is ancient beyond measure, yet it provides an environment perfectly suitable for a species that has only been spacefaring for 30 years. This cannot be a coincidence. They moved deeper into the vessel, their footsteps echoing in the profound emptiness. The architecture was strange, with corridors that curved in ways that hurt the eyes, as if the geometry itself was subtly, fundamentally wrong. Vixorin's spheres hummed with confusion. Captain Torres, I am detecting energy flows in the walls, but they do not follow any logical pattern. The ship's systems are active, but I cannot comprehend their purpose. They walked for what felt like hours, though their chronometers showed only 40 minutes had passed. Time seemed distorted here, stretched thin by the sheer weight of ages. The deeper they went, the more Rebecca felt that strange pull, a silent call that seemed meant for her and her alone. Finally, they emerged into a massive chamber. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters above, and the space stretched away in all directions. In the center stood a structure that might have been a control system, but it was like nothing they had ever seen. It rose from the floor like a crystalline tree, its branches spreading out in complex fractal patterns. Kreltak approached it cautiously, his lights pulsing with analytical patterns. I am detecting no interface points. No controls, no displays, no input mechanisms. How did the original crew operate this vessel? Vixorin tried to connect his systems to the structure. Metallic tendrils extended from his spheres, probing for any port or connection point. But the crystal tree remained inert, completely unresponsive. Nothing, the Archon reported, his mechanical voice tinged with something like frustration. It is as if the ship does not recognize me as a valid user. Desara scanned the perimeter, her 4 hands holding various detection devices. I am finding no trace of the original crew. No biological residue. No personal effects. No indication anyone ever lived here. It is as if this ship flew itself. Rebecca stood before the crystalline structure, studying it. Something about it felt familiar, though she knew she had never seen anything like it. Slowly, almost in a trance, she reached out her gloved hand and placed it on the cool, smooth surface. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The entire ship, all 70 kilometers of it, came alive. Light flooded the chamber, coursing through the crystalline tree and along the walls in brilliant, intricate patterns. A low, powerful hum resonated through the deck, a sound of immense power waking from a long slumber. Information, images, and feelings flooded Rebecca's mind, the history of a species beyond comprehension, a purpose that spanned eons, and a legacy left behind for a chosen successor. She saw galaxies born and die, felt the loneliness of a million-year journey, and understood, in a breathtaking instant, that this ship hadn't been found by accident. It had been waiting. For her. For humanity. What happens next? What was the purpose of this ancient vessel? And what does it mean for Captain Torres and the future of humankind? Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of this incredible journey. Thanks for watching. Light blazed through the chamber, flooding every surface with a brilliance that should have been blinding, but somehow wasn't. The crystalline structure beneath my hand pulsed with warmth, and suddenly I wasn't just touching it, I was connected to it. Information flooded into my mind, vast and incomprehensible, like trying to drink from an ocean. I gasped and tried to pull my hand away, but something held me there, gentle but insistent. Images flashed through my consciousness, faster than thought. Worlds I had never seen, stars being born and dying, civilizations rising and falling like waves on a shore. Captain! The Sara lunged forward, but Krelltek's tentacles held her back. Wait! The Zypherian pulsed urgently. Look at the ship. It's responding to her. All around us, the dark walls had transformed. They now glowed with soft light, and patterns emerged on their surfaces, flowing symbols and images that seemed to tell a story. Holographic displays materialized in the air, showing star maps and data streams that none of us could read. Vixoran spheres spun rapidly. Extraordinary. The ship's systems are fully active now. I'm detecting power flows throughout the entire vessel, but I still cannot interface with any of it. The technology is rejecting all my attempts at connection. My eyes had rolled back, and I stood rigid, my hand pressed against the crystal. My lips moved, forming words in a language that had never been spoken by human vocal cords. The Sara raised her weapons. We need to break the connection. This could be killing her. But Krelltek pulsed negative, his color shifting to a determined orange. No, look at her vital signs. He gestured to his scanner. Her heart rate is elevated, but stable. Brain activity is intense, but not damaging. She is not being harmed. She is communicating. Minutes passed like hours. The chamber continued to transform around us, becoming less alien and more purposeful. Sections of the floor reconfigured, creating what looked like workstations. Doorways appeared in walls that had been solid moments before. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it stopped. I gasped and stumbled backward, my hand finally free from the crystal. The Sara caught me before I could fall, her concern evident in her protective stance. Captain, are you injured? Should I signal for medical evacuation? She asked. I shook my head, my eyes wide with wonder and disbelief. I looked at the transformed chamber, then at my crew, then back at the crystal structure. I understand now, I whispered. I know what this ship is. I know why it's here. Krelltek floated closer, his lights flickering with intense curiosity. Captain Torres, what did you experience? What did the ship tell you? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This vessel is called the Sentinel. It was built by a race called the Architects, a civilization that existed 400 millennia ago. They were the first, the oldest sentient species in this galaxy. And they were looking for something. I walked to one of the holographic displays, and it responded to my approach, shifting to show images that my crew could understand. Star systems appeared, thousands of them, with lines connecting them in an enormous web. The Architects explored every corner of the galaxy. They seeded life on countless worlds, hoping that somewhere, somehow, another species would evolve that could inherit what they built. They were searching for successors. Vic Soren's spheres hummed thoughtfully. But why would they need successors? What happened to them? My expression grew somber. They were dying. Not from war or disaster, but from success. They had evolved beyond physical form, becoming beings of pure energy and thought. They were transcending, leaving this dimension entirely. But before they left, they wanted to ensure their legacy continued. The Sara's eyes narrowed. They built this ship to find their heirs. But there are thousands of species in the galaxy. Why did it respond only to you? Why humans? That's the question that haunted them, I said. They left these ships, sentinels, scattered throughout the galaxy. Each one programmed to wait, to test, to search for a species that matched specific criteria. Not the most intelligent, not the most powerful, but something else. Krell-Tech pulsed with realization. They were searching for a species with the right balance. The architects knew that their successors would need more than intelligence or strength. I nodded. They needed curiosity tempered with caution, ambition balanced with empathy, the ability to dream, but also to build, and above all, the capacity to change, to grow, to adapt without losing their essential nature. I gestured to the displays, and they showed images of various alien species. The Sentinel has been testing races for hundreds of thousands of years. The Zypherians were too cautious, always studying but never acting. The Quavathi were too rigid, bound by honor codes that prevented adaptation. The Archons were too logical, lacking the creative chaos that drives innovation. Vic Soren's spheres stopped spinning, and humans possess this balance? According to the architect's criteria, yes, I said. Humanity is young, reckless even, but we have something unique. We dream bigger than we should, attempt things we have no business trying, and somehow we make it work. We're emotional and logical, aggressive and compassionate, destructive and creative, all at once. We're contradictions that shouldn't function, but we do. The Sara made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. This is true. Humans are infuriatingly unpredictable. It makes you excellent allies and terrible enemies. The chamber suddenly filled with a new sound, a deep resonance that seemed to come from the ship itself. The holographic displays shifted again, showing something new. A map, but not of space. It was a map of possibilities, of potential futures. The Sentinel is offering us a choice, I said, understanding flooding through me as the ship communicated directly with my mind. The architects left behind their technology, their knowledge, everything they built. It's stored in ships like this one, scattered across the galaxy. The Sentinels will respond to humanity now. We can access it all. Krell-Tech's lights flickered with complex emotions. The greatest treasure in galactic history, and it belongs to the youngest species in space. The Galactic Council will never accept this. That's the problem, I said grimly. The architects foresaw this issue. They knew that if one species inherited their legacy, it would upset the balance of power. Other races would feel threatened, angry, jealous. The Sara's grip tightened on her weapons. There will be war. The moment this news spreads, every major power will either try to seize the technology or destroy it to prevent humans from having it. Vic Soren processed this information. Then perhaps it would be wise to refuse the inheritance, to leave the Sentinel dormant, and tell no one what you discovered. But I shook my head. The architects considered that too. They built a safeguard into their design. Now that the Sentinel has awakened, it cannot be shut down again. In 72 hours, it will broadcast its findings to every other Sentinel in the galaxy. They will all activate, all seek out humanity, all offer their knowledge. A countdown, Krell-Tech pulsed darkly. 3 days until the galaxy knows that humans have been chosen. 3 days until everything changes. I looked at my crew, at these beings from other worlds who had become my friends. I need to ask you something, and I need honest answers. Will your people accept this? Or will we become enemies? The Sara was the first to respond. The Kovathi respect strength and honor. If the architects chose humanity through legitimate means, we will accept it. But I cannot speak for all Kovathi. Some will see this as a threat. Kreltak's lights pulsed thoughtfully. The Zypherians value wisdom above all. We will be disappointed, perhaps even hurt, but we will not wage war over ancient technology. We will want to study it, to learn from it. Cooperation will be preferable to conflict. Vixoran spheres rotated slowly. The Archons exist beyond the concerns of biological species. We are interested in knowledge for its own sake. If humans are willing to share what they learn, we will have no quarrel. But there are other Archons who may feel differently. I nodded. Then we have work to do. In 3 days, we need to prepare humanity for the greatest responsibility we've ever faced. And we need to convince the rest of the galaxy that we're worthy of it. The ship hummed around us, and I felt its presence in my mind, patient and ancient. The Sentinel had waited 400,000 years for this moment. It would wait a bit longer, while humanity decided what kind of inheritors we would be. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next chapter. The journey back to the Phoenix was silent, each of us lost in our own thoughts. I could still feel the echo of the Sentinel's consciousness in my mind, like a distant song. It wasn't intrusive, but it was there a constant reminder that I was now connected to something far greater than myself. As we docked and removed our suits, James was waiting for us, his expression tight with anxiety. "Captain, we've been monitoring some unusual activity," he said, his voice tense. 3 Zypherian research vessels have entered the sector, along with a Kovathi battlecruiser and 2 Archon survey ships. They're all converging on our position. I exchanged a knowing glance with Kreltak and the Sara. The ship's awakening must have sent out a signal, a beacon drawing attention from across the region. How long until they arrive? I asked, my own voice steady despite the racing of my heart. 18 hours for the closest vessels, 36 for the others, James replied, his eyes locked on the tactical display. I took a deep breath and made a decision. There was no hiding now. Open a channel. All frequencies, maximum broadcast range. It's time to stop hiding what we found. Minutes later, I stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, facing the main view screen. It split into multiple sections, showing the commanders of the approaching fleets. There was a Zypherian elder, whose bioluminescent lights pulsed with an ancient authority. A Kovathi war leader, her face marked with the scars of decades of battle. And an Archon collective mind, represented by a mesmerizing cluster of floating silver spheres. "I am Captain Rebecca Torres of the United Earth Space Command," I began, my voice echoing slightly in the quiet of the bridge. "I'm transmitting these coordinates because we've discovered something that concerns every species in this galaxy. We found a Sentinel ship, a vessel built by the architects. The reactions were immediate and dramatic. The Zypherian elder's lights flashed with unmistakable excitement. The Kovathi leader leaned forward, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. The Archon collective hummed with an intense analytical interest. The ship has awakened, I continued, letting the weight of my words sink in. And it has chosen humanity as the inheritors of the architect's legacy. In less than 3 days, every Sentinel in the galaxy will activate and begin seeking out human crews. This is not a situation we asked for, but it is now our reality." The Zypherian spoke first, his translated voice resonating with millennia of wisdom. "The architects were legendary among my people. We have searched for their works for generations. If they have chosen humanity, there must be a reason. But you must understand, Captain Torres, this will not be accepted easily by all." The Kovathi leader growled, her voice a low rumble. "Why should the youngest race receive such power? Humanity has barely left its own homeworld. You have no experience with the responsibilities that come with such technology." "You're absolutely right," I said, and my honesty seemed to catch them off guard. We are young. We are inexperienced. We make mistakes constantly. But apparently, those are exactly the qualities the architects were looking for. With a gesture, I had the Phoenix S computers display the information the Sentinel had shared with me, the core of its philosophy. The architects didn't want perfection, I explained. They didn't want a species that already had all the answers. They wanted potential. The raw, messy ability to grow and change and dream. They wanted a species that was still becoming what it would eventually be. The Archon Collective processed this, their humming shifting in pitch. Fascinating logic. The architects understood that stagnation is death. They chose a species that is still evolving, still reaching, still striving. But this presents a dangerous situation, Captain Torres. Other races may not be so. Understanding. I nodded, the full weight of the situation pressing down on me. I know. That's why I'm proposing something radical. Humanity will accept the architect's inheritance, but we won't keep it to ourselves. We'll share it. A stunned silence fell over the communication channel. Then, a cacophony of voices erupted. Share it? The Zypherian elder pulsed in confusion. But the technology was meant for you. Impossible, the Quavathi leader snapped. Such advanced technology requires proper oversight and control, not charity. Unprecedented, the Archon Collective hummed. No species has ever willingly shared such a definitive advantage. I held up my hand, waiting for the chaos to subside. Listen to me, I urged. The architects chose humanity, but they didn't want us to rule the galaxy. They wanted us to inherit their role as caretakers, as guides, as the ones who help other species reach their own potential. If we hoard this technology, if we use it to dominate, then we'll have failed the very test that earned us this responsibility in the first place. Krell-Tech floated beside me, his lights pulsing with patterns of strong support. Captain Torres speaks with wisdom beyond her years. If humanity shares what they learn, if they use the architect's legacy to uplift all species, then perhaps the architects chose correctly after all. Visara stepped forward, her forearms crossed in a gesture of respect that sent a wave of relief through me. The Quvathi believe that strength unused is strength wasted. If you humans have the courage to share power rather than hoard it, that is the strongest position of all. You will have our support, Captain Torres. The Archon Collective hummed thoughtfully. A fascinating social experiment. We will observe with great interest. The Archon Conclave will not oppose this approach, though we reserve judgment on its ultimate success. The Zypherian Elder's lights cycled through colors I now recognized as deep contemplation. Very well. The Zypherian Republic will send representatives to discuss terms of cooperation. But I warn you, Captain, not all will be so easily convinced. There are factions in every civilization that fear change, that cling to the old ways. They will see humanity's rise as a threat to be eliminated. The weight on my shoulders felt physical now, a heavy cloak of responsibility. I understand, I said softly, but we have to try. The alternative is war, and I refuse to let humanity as first major act on the galactic stage be starting a conflict that could tear everything apart. Over the next few hours, as more ships arrived in the sector, I repeated my message and my promise. Some believed us. Many were skeptical. A few were openly hostile. But slowly, carefully, a fragile coalition began to form. A group of species willing to give humanity a chance. Through it all, I could feel the Sentinel watching through my mind, its ancient intelligence sending silent pulses of approval. It had been right to wait. This was what the architects had hoped for. A species that would unite rather than divide, share rather than conquer. But I knew this was just the beginning. In the shadows between stars, darker forces were at work. Fleets were gathering, weapons were being prepared, and plans were being made. The countdown continued. 54 hours until every sentinel in the galaxy awakened. 54 hours until the galaxy would never be the same. I stood on the observation deck again, looking out at the magnificent Sentinel. It hung in space, patient and powerful, waiting to see what we would do with its gift. Behind me, Kreltak, the Sara, and Vixorin stood together, representatives of 3 different species, united in support of a 4th. "Whatever comes next," the Sara said quietly, her voice firm, "you will not face it alone, Captain. The Quavathi stand with you, as do the Zypherians," Kreltak pulsed. "You have shown us something we had forgotten. That wisdom is not always found in age, but in the courage to try new paths." "The Archons will provide what assistance we can," Vixorin added, his voice a dry statistical observation. "Your approach is statistically improbable to succeed, which makes it all the more interesting to support." A small smile touched my lips, and I felt tears pricking at my eyes. "Thank you, all of you. I don't know if we can pull this off, but at least we won't be trying alone." Just then, the Phoenix's communication system chimed. It was James. "Captain, we're receiving a Priority 1 message from Earth. The Galactic Council has called an emergency session. They want you to testify about the Sentinel and humanity's intentions." This was it. The moment of truth. I straightened my uniform and turned away from the view of the ancient ship. "Set a course for the Council Station," I ordered, my voice ringing with a newfound resolve. "And send a message to Earth. Tell them to prepare. In 2 days, we're either going to make history or become it." As the Phoenix altered its course, I felt one final powerful pulse from the Sentinel. The architects had chosen well. Now, it was up to us to live up to that choice. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more. The Galactic Council Station, a massive ring orbiting the neutral world of Concordia, housed representatives from every major civilization. As my ship, the Phoenix, approached, I saw hundreds of vessels gathering for the emergency session. I stood in my quarters, my hands shaking. In a few hours, I, Captain Rebecca Torres, would stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. My mission? To convince them that humanity, a young and impulsive species, deserved the 400,000-year-old legacy of the godlike architects. My friend Kreltek, a being of pure light, floated into my room. "I'm terrified," I admitted. He reminded me, "You are not advocating for human dominance. You are advocating for cooperation." His words steadied me. We walked into the council chamber, a vast, magnificent hall filled with thousands of beings from every corner of the galaxy. All of them were here to judge us. I stepped onto the central platform, the silence absolute. "Honored members," I began, "I come before you not to claim superiority, but to acknowledge responsibility." I explained how we found the architect Sentinel, and that it had chosen humanity. Murmurs filled the chamber. A Quavathi warrior boomed, "How can your young species handle such power?" "You're right," I said. "We can't, not alone." I activated a hologram. I proposed the creation of the Architect Legacy Consortium. As the Sentinels share their knowledge with us, we will share it with everyone. The chamber erupted. This was unprecedented. Why would we give away such an advantage? I explained that holding on to power would make us exactly what we shouldn't be. The architects chose us not to rule, but to steward, to guide. My crew, a mix of species, stood in support, each speaking to humanity's potential. The Sara, a warrior, spoke of our compassion. Kreltak spoke of our courage to act. Vixorin, an Archon, confirmed it was the most logical path. The council deliberated for 2 agonizing hours. Finally, the verdict came. They approved our proposal. They had seen our willingness to share, not hoard, but there was more. The council leader turned to me. "Captain Torres, we appoint you as the first director of the Architect Legacy Consortium." The weight of it was immense, but I accepted. 3 weeks later, I stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, but this time we weren't alone. A fleet of ships from dozens of species flew alongside us. We were a united front, traveling to the second Sentinel, ready to unlock its secrets together. The architects hadn't just given humanity technology. They had given us a purpose, a reason to unite. We were no longer just a ship's crew. We were the beginning of a new galactic era, a future where we weren't conquerors, but partners. The journey was just beginning, but for the first time, the entire galaxy was reaching for the stars together. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow for the next chapter in this journey.